in the 2018 NBA Draft, the Sacramento Kings select Marvin Bagley III.
Even if you're one of the top picks in the draft, there's really no assurance you're going to be a good player, much less a star. That's why the NBA has seen its fair share of busts over the years. But in this case, let's look at the biggest draft busts in the modern league. Josh Jackson. There was a lot of noise surrounding Josh Jackson when he was coming out of high school. After all, he was the top recruit of his entire high school graduating class. As a 6'8" wing, he had the right height, length, and athleticism to play either the shooting guard or the small forward positions in the league. And he was actually really good in his lone season with Kansas, averaging 16.3 points, 7.4 rebounds, and 3 assists while shooting 51.3% from the field. So when he entered the NBA draft in 2017, he was undoubtedly one of the top prospects.
With a move and a drive and a scoop. Wow.
Scouts said he could become a solid wing defender capable of scoring and hitting shots. That's why the Phoenix Suns picked him 4th overall and even played him heavy minutes during his rookie season. In fact, he averaged 13.1 points and 4.6 rebounds on 25 minutes per game during his first year in the league, showing signs of promise. However, he just wasn't star material. He had the talent and potential, but none of the drive that a star wanted. Jackson regressed, unable to adjust his game to the NBA. He couldn't hit three-pointers, struggled with his jump shot, and couldn't bully his way to easy baskets using his athleticism. He could have had a solid career in the league if he actually switched his specialty to defense, but that wasn't the case. On top of that, personal problems plagued his life, making it hard for teams to want to give him a chance. By 2022, he was already out of the NBA at just 25 years old. Marvin Bagley III. By no means is Marvin Bagley III a bad player. He came out of high school as the top prospect of his recruitment class before going to Duke University, where he had a great freshman season. Bagley was a beast with the Blue Devils, averaging over 21 points and 11 rebounds. In most cases, that would mean a player would eventually become a solid starter, if not a star in the NBA.
Level up and you're not ready. Oh my goodness.
That's why the Sacramento Kings chose him with the 2nd overall pick in 2018. But Bagley hasn't been anywhere near star level. He did have a solid rookie season, averaging 14.9 points and 7.6 rebounds, but that remained his best year. He couldn't adapt his game to the NBA, especially after his injury during his 2nd season. Bagley wasn't big and athletic enough to be a solid rim-running center, and he didn't have the right kind of floor-spacing jump shot and mobility to play the stretch floor. But what made it worse was the fact that there were other players better than him chosen later in the draft. The Kings chose him over Luka Doncic, Trae Young, Jaren Jackson Jr., and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Let that sink in. We could forgive the Suns for choosing Ayton over any of those guys because he's a pretty solid center. But Bagley simply isn't anywhere near those stars. On top of that, Vlade Divac, who was running the Kings organization at the time, doubled down on his decision by saying that Bagley was the better choice over Doncic. Well, it's a good thing he's no longer a front office guy in any NBA team. Lonzo Ball. Thanks in large part to his loudmouthed father, Lonzo Ball was already a household name in the NBA way before he was drafted in 2017. He was a solid high school player, averaging close to a triple-double. Then, with the UCLA Bruins in college, he was also pretty good. Especially with the way he ran the offense while grabbing rebounds and hitting three-pointers. In many ways, he had the chance to become the next big thing at the point guard position, especially because he's 6'6" and is a really good playmaker. But the problem was that the expectations were too lofty. He was drafted 2nd overall by the Los Angeles Lakers in 2017, but he failed to live up to expectations. Ball shot 36% from the field during his rookie season, and his funky jump shot just couldn't find the bottom of the net. His rebounding and passing remained good, let's give him that, but his offense simply struggled, even when he was playing with LeBron James for a while. Ball, however, turned into a good starting point guard after becoming one of the trade pieces that sent Anthony Davis to the Lakers. At one point, he was showing signs of stardom. Then, again, injuries took their toll on him. Ball has yet to play more than 63 games in an entire season. Worst of all, he missed 2 straight years because of serious injuries that robbed him of most of his athleticism and explosiveness. Though he improved his three-pointer and is still a good passer, he's unlikely to live up to his billing as a 2nd overall pick. James Wiseman. Honestly though, James Wiseman could have been special. He was the top recruit out of his high school class for a good reason, and that was because he had the right combination of size, athleticism, and talent. Wiseman could have been a solid rim-running center at the minimum, or a star-level big man capable of holding his own against the best of them. But the Golden State Warriors couldn't find the right fit for him.
The Golden State Warriors select James Wiseman.
When they drafted him second overall in 2020 over someone like LaMelo Ball, Wiseman's job could have been easy. He should have been catching lobs from Stephen Curry or Draymond Green while camping inside the paint and waiting for easy baskets when the defense was more concerned with the greatest shooter of all time. Still, Steve Kerr really doesn't know how to utilize 7-footers other than using them for rebounding purposes. Wiseman averaged 11.5 points before injuries took an entire season away from him. He just wasn't the same after that, even though he did win a championship in 2022 while riding the Golden State bench as an injured player. The Warriors gave up on it because he couldn't find his niche in their system. And as his career progressed, Wiseman's injuries followed him wherever he went, making it hard for him to stay healthy long enough to actually showcase his talent. Markelle Fultz. Imagine how good the Philadelphia 76ers would have been had Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons, and Markelle Fultz stayed healthy the entire time. Well, you can leave that to your imagination, because it never happened and is unlikely to happen, especially on Fultz's side. He didn't have the same noise that Lonzo Ball had coming out of high school and college, but there was a good reason Fultz was taken first overall in 2017. As far as point guards go, he had everything.
Quarter for 14 three-point attempts. There's Fultz slamming for 2.
He was big, athletic, explosive, and talented. He could have been one of the best point guards in the league because he was basically a combination of Russell Westbrook with a bit of CP3 in his playmaking. But a shoulder injury during his rookie year basically ended everything for him. Fultz came back healthy from his injury, but struggled to find the groove. He had to change his shooting form, believing the injury messed up his mechanics. Fultz was tentative with his shot, forcing defenses to sag off and dare him to shoot a jumper. While there was nothing physically wrong with his shoulder, some say this was a serious case of the yips, which is a term used when athletes are psychologically bothered by a past injury. Fultz's case of the yips never went away because he never developed a steady jumper after the injury. He still had his driving game, but his inability to shoot a jumper and his tentativeness with his shoulder turned him into a liability for most teams. He did have a solid run as a backup point guard, only for him to regress once more. From 2023 to 2025, he played a total of only 64 games. Killian Hayes. It was perfectly understandable for scouts to feel positive about Killian Hayes when he entered the 2020 NBA draft. As a 6'5" left-handed point guard from France with crafty playmaking and strong size for his position, scouts saw him as a high-upside international prospect. He flashed elite passing vision, a smooth handle, and a step-back jumper that drew comparisons to James Harden. After playing professionally in Europe from a young age and showing growth in the German league, Hayes looked like a future floor general.
Chance, Ludwigsburg, Hayes ist auf dem Passweg, Hayes auf dem Weg zum Korb, Hayes!
So, when the Detroit Pistons selected him 7th overall, it felt like a smart gamble on a potential franchise point guard. He was young, skilled, and seemingly ready to grow into a modern lead guard. Detroit gave him the reins early, starting him in most games as a rookie. But right from the jump, Hayes struggled to adjust to the NBA's speed and physicality. He couldn't shoot consistently, finishing his rookie year shooting just 35% from the field and 27% from 3. Unfortunately, those shooting woes never really went away. His offensive game remained shaky, and despite occasional flashes of passing brilliance and solid perimeter defense, he never became reliable. By his 3rd season, Hayes had one of the worst true shooting percentages in the league for a guard, and his lack of scoring punch made it difficult to keep him on the floor. He never developed a consistent jumper, rarely got to the rim with confidence, and didn't have the explosiveness to make up for it. By 2024, he was off the Pistons roster and still only 23 years old. Hayes had the tools, but the fit, development, and results just didn't align.